All right, well, I'll just give a brief presentation to kind of go through what I like to call the renaissance that has happened downtown in the last 8 years, and for the direction that we are continuing to go in. Like Brandon said, I work for Mount Airy Downtown, Inc. We are a nonprofit organization. We're part of the North Carolina Main Street program, and our whole mantra is community revitalization within the context of historic preservation. And so everything that we have done in the last 8 years has not been random. In 2013, we held a vision forum and invited the community to come. We had 80 participants come and work on what are our, I'm sure many of you were there, what are our economic drivers, what are our strengths and weaknesses, and what's our vision for downtown Mount Airy. And so I'll briefly read this to you. It's historic downtown Mount Airy resides at the doorstep of the Blue Ridge Mountains, where our urban living is enhanced by arts, entertainment, local wine, craft brews, and our traditional music roots. Fostering a diverse variety of small businesses flavored with authentic dining experiences, Mount Airy is a true Southern town with all the charm of Mayberry. And that just sounds like a really nice tagline, but everything in that vision statement is intentional. When we mention that we're at the doorstep of the Blue Ridge Mountains, we want to connect to our outdoor recreation and really promote that in this area. When we say our urban living is enhanced by arts and entertainment, local wine and craft brews. At the time we created this vision statement, the only downtown living was the Renfro lofts. And so we put it in our vision so that we would make sure that we would work towards the goal of having more downtown living opportunities. There was really no public art downtown when we started, other than an old Mayberry mural and also the Andy Griffith statues at the Arts Council. So we put that in there as an intentional goal to work towards. Obviously, we did have Old North State Winery, but we wanted to grow that wine tourism. There were no breweries when we started, and we wanted to really focus on that traditional music that Mount Airy is well known for, but really promote that brand. And then also at the time that we started, we had some great restaurants, but we didn't have Kazaku, we didn't have Mikasa, we didn't have Soho, and we didn't have the Loaded Goat. So putting that in there made us work towards the goal of promoting downtown as a culinary destination and recruiting some different dining experiences that were not available before. And then of course, we end that sentence with, we are a true Southern town and we are Mount Airy, but we do have the charm of Mayberry, because I think it's important that we continue to promote Mayberry tourism, but that we identify ourselves as being Mount Airy, because Mount Airy is more than Mayberry. So I just want to show you, when we think of downtown, a lot of people think of just Main Street, but one of the first initiatives that we did was to extend the municipal service district. So downtown is that red outline. And when we started, none of the Spencer's property was included. So basically downtown stopped about here on the other side of the Renfro lofts. So stopped on Willow, and we extended downtown the MSD to include all of this. Now, the municipal service district, the way that our program is funded is that the downtown property owners pay an extra tax of 21 cents per $100 valuation in order to fund a lot of these public improvements that we're doing. And that is also what funds our programs. I think a lot of times the narrative in the community is, why does downtown get all this attention? They're spending too much money downtown. Well, a lot of the improvements that you see are actually paid for by the MSD tax and not by the general fund tax dollars. And so we've been able to track economic growth downtown over the last 8 years. And these are actually the numbers for the end of our fiscal year. So June 30, 2020, and they'll be updated by the end of this month. But as of last year, and I won't go through all of this, you can see how much growth that we have had. And what is really staggering there is that almost 27 million in private investment has happened in the downtown over the last 8 years. And I think that it's important to note that the majority of the investment happening downtown is private investment. And so the city's not having to prop up downtown. It's really that private investment is happening and then the city is participating. All of that did not happen by chance. I think that Renfro Lofts maybe doesn't enough credit for being the real catalyst of the renaissance that has happened downtown. It's so important to get people living downtown. But this was a big blighted building and it was completed in 2002. And now there's 37 condo units there. But that means there's also 37 families living downtown that are spending downtown. Downtown is safer because this building is not abandoned and it's a neighborhood. There's more eyes downtown. The more people you have living downtown, the healthier your downtown is going to be. Obviously, here are some wonderful images of the Renfro Lofts. It really changed the direction of downtown from being commercial and industrial to residential and a neighborhood. And that didn't happen by chance either. This is from the Mount Airy West Side development plan that was done in, I think, 2004. So Renfro Lofts was done and then Mount Airy invested in this plan. And there are multiple things in here that have been accomplished since then. But really, I think the most important piece of this plan was that this plan recommended basically all the things that are now happening on Market Street today. Here's a view of Market Street from this 2004 plan. And at the time, Market Street was a mess. I'm sure a lot of you remember. Most of the buildings were abandoned. Morton's Bar was down there, which wasn't quite up to par with Thirsty Souls and White Elephant. It just was not a place that you wanted to be. So luckily we have Gene Reese who looked at that plan, purchased some of these buildings, and now you see the before and the after today. And you know, this isn't just, oh, these old buildings are now pretty buildings. Those are new business, those are businesses in there. They're paying property taxes, they're paying sales tax, there's people down there, but also this has become the center of the community where people gather for entertainment. And I just think it is so important to Mount Airy, which is why we continue to do work on Market Street. And I know we just saw this before and after, but we're going from an empty space of abandoned historic buildings to a revitalized space where the community gathers. So it's improving our quality of life. One thing that we've done on Market Street following all of this private development is the Market Street Arts and Entertainment District that started as a COVID relief initiative in 2020 with a very small budget, but it went really well. We scheduled food trucks, artists, and musicians to entertain the district and close that on the weekends to make it a pedestrian area. And I think it's just made such an impact in Mount Airy, but also 2020 was a really difficult time for everybody. And I think it provided not only a sense of economic relief, but at least for me, I know that it was something that was good for my heart in a time that we all were very quarantined and distanced from each other. There was still a safe way to gather outside and to continue on. And it also supports a lot of local visual artists. This list has grown this year. Did this list before we actually started in May of this year, and we've had lots of new artists. And so, you know, you've got to think about these artists as business owners in their own right. And then as a result of the MSA and ED, we've had multiple artists leave second floor studio spaces downtown, which are new businesses for our downtown and new uses and once vacant upper floors. And then we've had other art projects that have happened as a result of the MSA and ED, like this beautiful floral mural on Franklin Street and the Easter Brothers mural, and there's some other mural projects on the way. Of course, it also supports local musicians who really struggled in 2020, and we continue to support local musicians on Market Street as well. And here's just an image of Melva's Alley when we were raising funds for that project, and then the completed mural of Melva. I think this mural is such a beautiful tribute to Melva, and Melva's Alley will become a pocket performance space in Mount Airy. But also this mural represents that Mount Airy is a diverse place that has welcomed everyone. Since the completion of this mural, we've had multiple organizations plan culturally diverse events on Market Street. And as a result of that, we've had a more culturally diverse downtown, and more of our population sees that downtown is a place for them. And I think that this mural plays a big hand in that. Here is the before of Melva's Alley on the left, the rendering of our concept for Melva's Alley, and then the Melva's Alley mural in the top right. There's a mural there by Gina Elizabeth Franco. We're going to do a mural on the opposite wall very soon of song quotes from Melva. There will be piano keys on the floor, string lights above. There'll be seating on the right side, and then a neon Melva's Alley sign, and some beautiful planters as well. We plan to have all of that done by October 30th for a grand opening Halloween celebration on Market Street. So I hope you all can come. Here's the before of what Market Street looked like before we implemented our parklet designs. Here is the inspiration for the parklet designs and painting the street to extend the pedestrian area, some examples of parklets. And then we did a contest with Mount Airy High School students to paint these street murals in the parklets. It was a huge success. Really, really cool to see the high school students feel like they are leaving their mark on Mount Airy. And of course, now here's Market Street in 2021 with our permanent parklets. If you haven't been down there, they're really beautiful. They're there all the time, which helps me a lot because I was pretty tired of moving picnic tables back and forth every Friday and Sunday. So cheers to Market Street. Beyond Market Street, there's been a whole lot of development as well. This before and after of this bottom left corner here of Jean Reese walking into the absolute mess that was that part of the Spencer's building, and then the after here, beautiful 16 condo units. That development has been such a pivotal development for Mount Airy because following the completion of these 16 condos, we got 4 new restaurants downtown. And in addition to the restaurants being downtown, we had only 1 permanent business closure from COVID. And I think that with these condos and the 65 apartment units across the street in the Spencer's Mill Apartments, having all of that support right there is the reason why our businesses were able to stay afloat in such a difficult year. Again, I want to show you this just up close because it's amazing, the before and after. We had a lot of buildings be revitalized. We do this typically through mentoring the property owner through the historic tax credit process, which is a vehicle that incentivizes historic preservation in our downtowns. It's been the reason why Mount Airy Downtown has been able to survive. But we provide free design assistance. We mentor the property owners through the historic tax credit preservation process, and that has really worked. So not only are we seeing a prettier building, but we're seeing an office space that employed 2 people go to a restaurant that the public really benefits more from. And then of course, there's a whole lot more job creation associated with a restaurant as opposed to an office. also there's an Airbnb unit above this restaurant as well. So we're reactivating the upper floor spaces. Just more before and afters of all of the growth that has happened downtown in the last several years. And I think it's just so important that we're preserving the historic character of our downtown. Sometimes it's a big rehab project. Sometimes it's a simple facade and mural grant project, but I think it makes a big difference that we're also considering the rear and side facades as well. Love this uncorked building too. It just is beautiful. Also with this, all of this public art, we didn't just jump right into it. You know, I don't think that you can go into a small town that has no public art and just slap murals all over their walls without being dragged completely. And so we introduced public art incrementally and started small and have grown that program. And I'm sure you all remember doing the fiddle crawl, guitar crawl, banjo crawl. And so we started with these instruments, moved to the metal sculptures by Chaz Elstone, and we continued to do larger and larger public projects like Canteen Alley, just beautiful sculptures in Lowry Park. And then that led to the Carlos Jones Blue Ridge Park, which led to the Whittling Wall, which is phenomenal. Artist Brad Spencer did this, and I love the Whittling Wall. I think it's the coolest thing. And the Whittling Wall is not just something where we, you know, thought brick figures would be great. That goes back to our vision statement of historic downtown Mount Airy having rich roots in old time and traditional music. And so we wanted to make sure that we show that. And here's just some more public art projects that have happened over the last several years. And then the events that Mount Airy Downtown has added, in addition to the Market Street Arts and Entertainment District, are the Mayberry Food Truck Fest. I'm happy to tell you we're bringing it back on Sunday, October 3rd. And then that's not just something that we do for a fundraiser, because truthfully, it doesn't raise a whole lot of funds for Mount Airy Downtown, but that is part of building that brand as being a culinary destination. And I think doing a food truck fest not only is fun for the community, but it helps to build that brand, and it helps to recruit new restaurants to our downtown. And here are some of the lovely food and beverage restaurants and little businesses that we've added over the last 8 years. And of course, this is just a great image of Mount Airy. And that leads us to the Spencer's project, which is what is still to come. And this is actually an outdated site plan. We're working on an updated site plan, and the developers right now are in an option agreement with the city. We are working with them on their development agreement. Mount Airy Downtown offered to manage the process for the request for proposals, and we're also managing the development process with the developers to help the city of Mount Airy. And so this whole parcel is parcel C. This will have a very different design than what you see here. And then we call this parcel A and parcel B, but this will be where the hotel is. They're looking at Marriott brand. It'll be boutique, it'll be beautiful, $14 million hotel development. And they've got an option for this Sparker building, and then also this, what we're calling, it's the Dye House, but we're calling it the Market Center. And so we are working on some ideas for the Q building and the Cube Annex, and then this building here is owned by Jean Reese. So I think we're going to see a lot of activity happening on this property in the next few years, with the goal of opening the hotel in late summer, early fall of 2023. I'm showing you this to go back to that West Side development plan from 2004, that nothing nothing that you see here. And, it wasn't just an afterthought to try to have some good development on the Spencer's property once that went up for auction in 2014, that this is something that has been thought of and planned for, and working towards this since before the Main Street program started. So I just think planning documents are important. Wrapping it up here, I want to show you an image of the Spencer's property just before it was the selective demolition happened. So before construction happened on the apartments here, and before all of these buildings were demolished. And that they were demolished because of a structural engineer's report stating how unsound they were. But the aerial images really show the deterioration of the roof lines. So there's always lots of talk about Spencer's, but the public really hasn't seen some of these images. And so I think it's important for you to see the building really was collapsing. And then of course, here's the construction on the Spencer's apartments here that was happening at the same time as the selective demolition. And then here's the completion of the Spencer's apartments. And then the buildings that were once here and through here are now gone, which really opens up the site, lets it breathe, and readied it for redevelopment. So here will be the boutique hotel, the market center. There'll be a Willow Street pocket park here and a lower plaza here. The hotel entrance will be on the back side, and then parking through here. This is just an overview of the hotel development, much of which I've already mentioned, and then renderings of what that hotel development will look like. These are just the initial renderings, so of course these will be refined. And here is the market center. Again, this is a site early on, and so we've gone through several versions of this, and the updated version will be in the development agreement, which will be available to the public sometime in the next week and a half or two before the public hearing. And then flagship is Marriott. Here's some examples of Marriott Tribute and AC. So this is the caliber of hotel that will be there. And then this is the infrastructure required for the project. It's 1.6 million on site, 2.9 total with Willow Street being redone, but that needs to happen anyways. I don't know how many of you are aware, but much of the water sewer lines downtown are dated back to 1905. So there are many areas where there are failures, and a lot of this infrastructure has to happen regardless of if we develop the Spencer's property or not. And this is the breakdown of those costs, which I won't walk you through, but you're welcome to screenshot that if you'd like. And then I think this is a very important slide as well. Well, you know, the city and the county are investing a lot of money into this project, but it's important to see that the return based on the pro formas is that the city and county direct public benefits totals 4.6 million over 10 years. So the investment of 1.6 million into the infrastructure on site will have quite a big return in a short amount of time. These are conservative estimates here. Of course, this is that the city passed the option agreement on 3/18, and we hope that the city will pass the development agreement in the beginning of August. And then the developers will hit the ground running, and hopefully we'll have a hotel soon. I'm sorry that that took me a little bit longer. It's hard for me to condense everything that's happened in a short amount of time, but I'm happy to take questions if anybody has any.
Any of you that may not have been aware of what's been going on this property, what I hope what you see, you like and understand. You are witnessing a historic change in our city. This will be the biggest project collectively, I think, that has ever happened in the city of Mount Airy. And the chamber is 100% behind the project. And not too many years ago, this city had over 30 operating textile mills. And this is a great example of how one will be brought back to life. And we're very excited about the project. A few questions that come up. John Tarn mentioned, Lizzie, is there a height limitation on new construction on anywhere on the project that discussed?
There's not a height limitation that I'm aware of, though. It's funny you mentioned that, because we were talking about that today, because there's yesterday, because there's potential for new construction in several different areas of the downtown district. And so I don't think there is a height limitation at this time, but I also don't see, Mount Airy getting a skyscraper anytime soon, but it is something that we need to consider.
Joe asks, any update on a farmer's market plan from the Vision Committee?
So Commissioner Wood's Vision Committee did recommend that. And ahead of that, Mount Airy Downtown, as part of a budget amendment request for the Municipal Service District budget, got approved funding to update the site plan for the Spencer site, what I refer to as parcel C, so not part of the hotel development. And one of the things that we are planning for that site is a permanent farmers market structure. So we're working on that now, and when we get that complete, Mount Airy Downtown will be echoing the Downtown Vision Committee's recommendation of having a permanent farmers market structure, and we think it should be on the Spencer site.
And Don Masura had asked that he complimented your presentation, saying, are there plans to expand the evening experience? I think that's already happening with Market Street, but and you talked about the food experience downtown. Any expansion on? You want to say anything else on that?
Yes, we plan to continue Market Street. The Market Street Arts and Entertainment District is every Friday from 5 to 11 p.m., Saturday from noon to 11 p.m., and Sundays from noon to 7 p.m. We have music every Saturday night from now through October 31st in Melva's Alley, usually anywhere from 5 to 9 or 7 to 9, depending on the band and our budget. I would love to see more of the downtown businesses stay open a little bit later. And we have seen that over the last 8 years. More of them are extending their hours. It's one of those, there's a couple things involved there. A lot of these downtown businesses have either themselves working for it or maybe 1 or 2 employees, and it's hard for them to find time to rest if they're staying open much later. But also, it's one of those what comes first, the chicken or the egg thing. And I think the downtown businesses that have tried to stay open later have done well. We do partner with the Downtown Business Association and the Tourism Development Authority on girls' night out events, where we encourage the businesses to stay open till 8 p.m. and they typically do pretty well. I do think that when the hotel is open, that we'll have more businesses willing to stay open later.
Right.